Hey everyone, it is Michelle with Machi Marketing Solutions. Today I want to touch a little bit on knowing your audience. I was recently watching, it's a channel called SciShow, and they did an episode about physics and knitting. Now, I enjoyed it. I know how to crochet and I recently learned how to knit, and I love learning about things, so for me it was very exciting. And then I saw a lot of videos from people in the fiber arts community coming out with not great reviews on what was said and the attitude that was portrayed. Basically talking about how it was treated as being devalued, and that a criticism was knitting wasn't taken seriously as if it was a science until physicists got involved, and getting confused with knit versus woven fabrics and a number of other things. And they do really have good criticisms. However, that channel is not targeted towards the fiber arts community. Now, if you are working on developing any sort of media for the fiber arts community, the first thing you should know is that all of us are terribly picky and finicky, and you could say everything right and 50,000 other people will tell you exactly why you're wrong, and they will have evidence to back it up. So if this was an episode targeted towards the fiber arts community, I would say you had no idea who your audience is. We don't see ourselves as old ladies in a rocking chair knitting an Afghan for, our grandchild. We're very immersed in it. It's kind of a cult. I use that term loosely here. But we do have our own language, we have our own communities, we have in-depth knowledge about things that most people don't even think about. Like, what is yarn? What are the different fibers of yarn? What are those properties? What is sustainable? How much wool do you need in an acrylic to have wool-like properties? What fibers out there are going to drape? Which are better for, Anyway, the point is, if this was a channel targeted to the fiber arts community, they would have no idea who their audience is. However, my understanding is that their target audience is very likely lay people who are interested in science, but don't necessarily have that technical knowledge. And I think for that, I think they did a great job. Because in the fiber arts community, we will get bogged down in everything. The fiber arts community is very political. And that's not a recent thing. Knitting, crochet, even sewing, people use it as forms of protest, as forms of resistance, and there's a lot of meaning that people put into their craft. So it's hard to really make any video, even in the fiber arts community, even with you when you're familiar with all of these dynamics, to make a video where there aren't going to be people either going, actually, or I think you're wrong, because it happens. Because we are horribly nitpicky, no pun intended. But again, we need to know who our audience is. And we were not the audience. I mean, I am a layperson who loves science. So in that sense, I am their audience if I go in with that attitude, which is what I did when I viewed it. I didn't view it as this is going to be a really technical, in detail knitting video about every little tiny thing. I mean, it wasn't even like 10 minutes if I remember correctly. I figured, people are not going to the SciShow channel to learn every intricate, tiny little detail about knitting. They're not. So if they did that, sure, they might appease more people in the fiber arts community. They're never going to appease all of us. But they're also going to really alienate who their audience is. And this is why a lot of people, when you ask, who is your software, product, service for, and people go, everyone could use this. We tend to come back with, you need to choose target audiences. Yes, everyone could potentially use it, but when you message to everyone, you message to nobody. And if you're constantly trying to message to everyone, you're going to start alienating people. So that is something to consider. Because, again, I think for SciShow's targeted audience, I think they did a great job. And I think the fiber arts community is stepping in and actually because it wasn't targeted towards us. So we feel alienated, we feel devalued, we are like, you don't even know the history of what you're talking about. And the reality is, we weren't their target audience. And again, that's why you kind of have to pick your target audience. So next time you think, oh, I'll just target to everyone, maybe think again. Anyway, see ya.